early hours of Saturday morning, Israeli forces launched new attacks against Iranian territory. According to Gaza's health authorities, the Palestinian death toll in the war-ravaged Gaza Strip has risen to 35,297, with a further 128,426 injured since the conflict between Hamas and Israel began on October 7, 2023. And in the United States, massive protests against Donald Trump's anti-migrant policies take place this Saturday. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Early Saturday morning, Israeli forces launched new attacks on Iranian territory. In the last hours, the Israeli regime launched an attack against densely populated areas of the city of Tabriz in the northwest of the country. On the other hand, Iranian media reported that 60 people were killed on Friday, among them 20 children, after an Israeli attack on the Shahid Kamran residential complex in eastern Tehran. Previously, Iranian officials called the Israeli attacks the previous day a declaration of war and reported that the aggression has left at least 78 dead and more than 320 wounded. And on Saturday, Iran launched a fifth wave of missile strikes against several targets in Israel in response to the Zionist attacks against Iranian nuclear facilities and senior officials. Israeli media reported on Saturday significant damage during the latest attack that hit the city of Rishon LeZion, while in Tel Aviv, serious damage to infrastructure was also reported and millions of people fled in panic to bomb shelters. Health authorities report at least 3 dead and nearly 70 injured during Iranian retaliatory attacks. Operation True Promise 3, launched on Friday by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, targeted 150 Israeli military sites, including the Nevatim Air Base and the IDF General Staff Building in Tel Aviv, which was hit twice. And on Friday, Iranian intelligence intercepted several vehicles with Zionist Mossad suicide drones. Authorities said several vans loaded with caches of drones ready to be used in a sabotage operation were seized on Friday and that the equipment has been dismantled. Iranian security forces have urged the population to report any suspicious activity linked to foreign agents. In this context, Iran has announced a cancellation of negotiations with the United States. According to international media reports, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that given Israel's continued barbarism, there is absolutely no reason to continue indirect negotiations between Iran and the United States. According to Araghchi, the Israeli aggression constitutes a blatant violation of Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And earlier, Iran denounced the United States' complicity in the new Israeli aggression against Iranian territory before the United Nations Security Council during an extraordinary session convened by Tehran. Iran's ambassador to the UN, Amir Said Iravani, stressed that the Security Council must condemn Israeli aggression against Iran in the strongest possible terms. In this regard, he stressed that anything else will mean the collapse of the international system and an invitation to chaos, and silence would be equivalent to participating in this crime. The ambassador and permanent representative of Iran emphasized that Israel carried out a series of coordinated and previously planned military attacks against several cities in the Persian country, taking full advantage of the intelligence and political support of the United States. In the meantime, Pope Leo XIV on Saturday urged Israel and Iran to show responsibility and act reasonably following an exchange of intense airstrikes between the two countries that killed dozens of civilians. During an audience in St. Peter's Basilica, the Supreme Pontiff wished to vigorously renew his call for responsibility and reason.
Questi giorni These days we are getting news that is causing great concern. The situation in Iran and Israel has seriously deteriorated. At a delicate moment, I wish to renew with force a heartfelt appeal to responsibility and reason. The commitment to building a safer world, free from the threat of nuclear weapons, must be pursued through respectful engagement and sincere dialogue. Foundations upon which to build lasting peace, rooted in justice, fraternity, and the common good.
Nessuno dovrebbe mai minacciare l'esistenza dell'altro.
No one should ever threaten the existence of another. It is the duty of all nations to uphold the cause of peace, initiating paths of reconciliation and promoting solutions that guarantee security, dignity, and hope for all peoples.
E dignità per tutti.
The Iranian government is working to guarantee services in the country, despite Israeli attacks in the last 24 hours against military facilities. The Ministry of Roads and Urban Development announced that ports, railway stations, and road transport operators continue to operate at full capacity. However, it warned that domestic and international flights are temporarily suspended. It also emphasized that the decision was made with the aim of guaranteeing civil security and preventing possible threats. Iran called on the population not to make unnecessary purchases or stock up on products, as the military authorities remain in control of the area. Also in Iran, thousands protested against Israeli attacks on civilian, nuclear, and military infrastructure. Protesters gathered in Engelab Square pointed out that they are not afraid to participate in the mobilization despite the aggressions. They also emphasized their commitment to defending their country and sovereignty. Iranians support their political leaders in Operation True Promise 3, which demonstrates the defensive capabilities of the Persian nation. And according to Gaza's health authorities, on Saturday, the Palestinian death toll in the war-ravaged Strip has risen to 55,297, with a further 128,426 injured since the conflict between Hamas and Israel began on October 7, 2023. Over the past 48 hours, Israeli attacks have claimed 90 Palestinian lives and injured a further 605 people. It specified that 5,014 deaths and 16,085 injuries had occurred since March 18, 2025, and revealed that medical facilities have received 274 fatalities and over 2,532 injured people from incidents near humanitarian aid distribution centers in southern Gaza. You have our first break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. I'm going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The death toll from the crash of the Air India Boeing 787 plane that crashed on Thursday after taking off from the northwestern Indian city of Ahmedabad en route to London has risen to 279. Although an official statement with the final figure has not yet been issued, police sources indicated that the final death toll could be between 274 and 279. Air India Flight 171 crashed on Thursday less than a minute after its takeoff at 1:39 p.m. local time to London's Gatwick Airport, according to the Indian Civil Aviation. The Indian Minister of Interior, Amit Shah, indicated that the final balance of the catastrophe, one of the worst in the world since the year 2000, will be published after all DNA identifications of the victims have been carried out. And the United Nations Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, MONUSCO, reaffirmed its commitment to support all initiatives to reduce tension in the country. During a visit to the strategic city of Goma, the head of the mission, Bintu Keita, held a meeting with representatives of the rebel group M23, where she affirmed that the meeting is part of a joint effort that began several months ago for the benefit of the population. The rebel leaders expressed their willingness to seek a peaceful solution to the crisis, emphasizing the commitment of MONUSCO to facilitate all ongoing peace initiatives. The head will appear before the UN Security Council on June 27th to present the situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Il y a quelques jours de mon briefing devant le Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies.
Thailand and Cambodian officials will talk Saturday ahead of a joint border commission meeting in Phnom Penh that seeks to reduce tension between the two countries. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand informed in a statement that Thai Prasavinchai and Cambodian Lam Che had an open and frank discussion before the meeting of the commission they both led. The meeting is being held to reduce tensions in the area and allow people on both sides of the border to live peacefully together. The meeting takes place in the midst of increasing bilateral tensions after the death of a Cambodian soldier in an exchange of fire between the two armies in a disputed area on May 28th. In our news, specialized units carried out the safe evacuation of 3,800 residents of a building in the busy areas of Dubai, the economic capital of the United Arab Emirates, due to a fire that was extinguished. Dubai authorities have brought under control a fire that broke out in the 67-story building known as the Marina Pinnacle. The fire started on the upper floors of the so-called Tiger Tower in the famous Marina district at approximately 9:30 p.m. local time. Work is being carried out by the authorities and the building's developer to temporarily house the residents. The causes of the incident are not yet known. The governments of Russia and Ukraine exchanged prisoners of war as part of the agreements reached during the negotiations in the Turkish city of Istanbul. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that on Saturday a new group of Russian prisoners returned the country and at the same time captured Ukrainian soldiers were handed over to Kiev. The Defense Ministry stated that the soldiers are receiving the necessary psychological and medical assistance in Belarus and will then undergo treatment and rehabilitation in military medical facilities. Russia and Ukraine agreed to carry out the largest prisoner exchange since the start of the special military operation, in addition to the unilateral transfer of 6,000 frozen bodies of enemy soldiers. Russia's defense ministry reports at least 66 Ukrainian drones intercepted over 6 southwest regions. The Russian Defense Ministry said the most recently attacked provinces are Voronezh, Volgorod, Stavropol, Samara, Crimea, and over the Sea of Azov. Territories bordering with Ukraine, like Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, and Voronezh, have reported regular projectile impacts as well as incursions and attacks from the other side of the border, forcing residents to leave and seek refuge in other areas. In China, more than 12,000 people were evacuated after Typhoon Wutip hit the southern part of the region. The Weather Service reported that the storm could weaken this Saturday. However, rains are expected to cause impacts in Guangdong province, which is on emergency alert. On the other hand, residents of the Beibu Gulf region are experiencing rough seas with waves up to 5 meters high. Authorities recommended that vessels operating in the area take precautionary measures. Similarly, the Meteorological Administration urged citizens to take preventive measures against the possible effects of wind, rain, and landslides in that region. And the National Hydrometeorological Forecast Center of Vietnam reported that at least 5 provinces could be affected by floods and landslides caused by Tropical Storm Wutip. The meteorological agency warned the population to be on the lookout for potential disaster risk as rain expected on Saturday. It also pointed out that flash floods and landslides could negatively impact the environment and endanger lives. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Environment has stated that it will monitor the rainfall to prevent and minimize damage. We now have our second short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on world's most recent events. For no break, go away. Welcome back. The United States protests against the anti-migration and repressive policies of President Donald Trump are ongoing. Under the slogan, "A Day Without Kings," thousands of people have showed their rejection to the hegemonic policies of the Trump administration, which is using the army to repress demonstrators and the migrant community in the United States. Protesters, which were also called in Mexico, the United Kingdom and Germany, follow several days of tensions and riots in the city of Los Angeles spurred by the latest raids on migrants. Over 2,000 protests have been called in all 50 states of the country amid the military parade announced by the U.S. President to mark Flag Day and the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army.
I'm here to protest the unlawful deployment of the California National Guard and the ICE raids breaking up LA families. I'm here to send a message to Washington, D.C. Congress needs to stop Donald Trump. Federal courts need to continue their checks on his power.
And in Bolivia, President Luis Arce announced that he will continue operations to remove roadblocks in regions disrupted by protests demanding that former President Evo Morales be allowed to run in upcoming elections. Arce reported that police and military forces are working to lift the blockades in Potosí, Chuquisaca, and Santa Cruz. In this regard, authorities are taking action to guarantee free transit and the safety of citizens and prevent food shortages. President Arce also condemned acts of political violence and what he described as illegal methods in the exercise of democracy. As Brazil's trial of former President Bolsonaro moves forward quickly, legal analysts are predicting that the final verdict will be made by October. Correspondent Brian Meir with the details.
The Supreme Court trial against former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and 7 of his cronies, who prosecutors believe made up the central nucleus of a 3-year plot to implement a military coup, has reached the final stretch as the defendants were called to the stand this week to testify.
I would like to know of the defendant. Mr. Bolsonaro believes that he acted within the framework of the Constitution when, after disagreeing with a court order, he summoned the commanders of the armed forces to debate it.
Far-right former President Jair Bolsonaro started off calmly during his nearly 2 hours on the stand. But most journalists and analysts who covered the proceedings believe that as the questions got more complicated, he began to lose his cool and sabotaged his own defense.
Why the armed forces commanders? We had the same education. We went to the academy. We had the same training. The military are always with you in your good and bad moments. I was in no mood to invite anyone to discuss anything. They were the only ones left who could listen to me let off steam.
The defendants have finished their testimony. Now the court will summon key witness, Lieutenant Colonel Mauro Cid, to the stand to make his final statement. From this moment, the defendants will have a period of 15 days to develop and present their final arguments to the court. At that point, a panel of 5 justices will issue their rulings, which legal scholars are predicting will come in by October.
Bolsonaro incriminated himself by admitting the existence and his knowledge of a griding coup plan, by admitting that he presented this plan in a meeting with the commanders of the armed forces, and by admitting that he tirelessly looked for alternatives to the election results, including declaring a state of siege.
If convicted, former President Jair Bolsonaro will face a sentence of up to 40 years. Brian Muir, teleSUR, Brasilia.
On June 14th, we commemorate the 97th anniversary of the birth of Ernesto Che Guevara, a key figure in the history of Latin America. Born in Argentina on June 14, 1928, Ernesto Guevara de la Serna became a man who stood out for the principles he defended and, above all, for acting in full correspondence with what he stated in this respect. Already from the stage of liberation struggle in Cuba, he was concerned about having means that would contribute to explain to the people the objective for which they were fighting, and also to spread the truth about how the war was developing, not only with speeches and conferences, but also with the use of the word through the mass media. Che also showed the importance he attributed to the combat that it was necessary to wage with the force of ideas. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.